Hello again, this is Preheat. Welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. So today we're going to be covering some of the class changes. They just did the tuning pass. It's not a whole lot to cover here, but I do want to give you guys an update. So these notes just came out like an hour ago. Have been spending some time looking over sims and logs just to see like what the impact would be. But we're just going to cut straight into it. So Fire is getting a 5% buff overall. So if we look at what Blizzard actually said here, they have a developer note. These changes are intended to increase Fire single target damage. The value of the increase should be comparable for all hero talent options. This is something you're going to see as a trend for all of these. It seems like they're finally doing a tuning pass on the hero talents. It's a bit too little too late, but you know what? We'll take what we can get. And especially since I was planning to play Fire this week anyways, I've already recrafted my gear as of Thursday. I am very happy to see these changes. So anyways, yeah, Pyroblast damage is going up 8%, and then Frostfire bolt damage is increased by 5%. The overall result of this is just a flat 5% increase for both Frostfire and Sunfury. Sunfury and Frostfire are already very close. Like these are some sims looking at like the talent differences after the buff. So Frostfire was already ahead of Sunfury and sims, although it doesn't really get a whole lot of play. To be honest, Fire Mage in general doesn't really get a whole lot of play. The sample size is extremely small on Warcraft logs. In fact, if you look at it, you'll notice here on this one that we're looking at, there are a total of 36 parses on this boss when it comes to Mythic Crown of the Cosmos. Not a whole lot of people playing this, right? Look at Frost, there's like 4,600, right? So the sample size is extremely small, which means that outliers can be weird, and you also don't have like a lot of the high, like not the flame people who are playing Fire, but like you don't have like the best mages playing it, right? They're probably playing the meta spec, which is Frost. Speaking of Frost, so Frost is actually getting a buff too. Frostfire Frost is getting a buff to all of its abilities. Now, something to note about Frostfire is that they often make mistakes when it comes to buffing Frostfire stuff, where it accidentally affects Fire. And then they often make mistakes whenever they buff Fire's version of Frostfire where it affects Frost. So if I had to guess, there's probably going to be at least one thing where that happens, one instance, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, though, I am excited to play Fire, and I'm really hoping that they accidentally bring in one of these buffs from the Frost side things over the Fire. That'd be fantastic, especially if it was the Comet Storm damage. Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I would say this is the one I'm going to guess is probably messed up, or it could be something with duality. Anyways, I'm just hoping for a little bit of a mess up just to benefit Fire just a little bit. I will be playing Frostfire Fire this week on Tuesday. So if you want to catch me live, twitch.tv/preheat, I will be playing Frostfire in my raid. I'm going to try to do every boss as Frostfire just to kind of give it a go. But yeah, 5% damage increase, not too bad. Plus we're getting a 1% damage increase with the weekly reset, which is just like going to continue being the case until that buff maxes out. We also have changes to Arcane. So it looks like they have buffed Arcane just flat 5%. Which is kind of funny given how good Arcane is at padding on Crown of the Cosmos. That's going to be even better now. So yeah, which mage spec is going to be best for each fight is probably going to depend on the individual fights. I will say that on the fight without Spread Cleave, Fire definitely has a chance, right? On the fight with Spread Cleave as a big core part of it, maybe not so much. Crown of the Cosmos is a weird one because the damage amp is just really, really broken for Arcane. But just like to give you an idea of what we're looking at right now, as you can see, Arcane and Frost are already doing pretty well on Imperator, but a lot of this is going to be AoE pad. On Veracious, Fire actually does quite well already, so it's probably just going to be better on this fight. If we look at Fallen King, yeah, it's a lot of Spread Cleave stuff, but you can make Fire work. The timings are a little different on the damage amps and AoE, so I think this one will be fine. Valgor, Fire's already okay, right? You got to consider how many samples, or what the sample size is on the boss, right? All of these Frost Mages, we've got like 100 pages of Frost Mages on this boss. And a Fire Mage, although there's only a few reports on this, has squeaked up here. So it's probably going to be pretty good on this fight. Light Blinded Vanguard, I don't think Fire has a chance on this fight at all. I'll be honest with you. I think this is just like a hard Frost fight. But I'll still play Fire on it just for fun. Crown of the Cosmos, pad P1 damage is out of control. Here, let's look at an example. So an Arcane Mage did, let's see here, 243,000 DPS, yes. And how much damage did they do in P1? 110 million damage overall. In P1, they did 77 million damage. Wow. So it's like 70% of their total damage they did in the first 2 minutes. And then for the whole rest of the fight, we have this damage here. They're middle of the pack. It's pad. it's pad, but hey, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? That's just how the fight works. They only count the big ads, and the big ads have like a crazy stacking damage amp. So Arcane's gonna be absolutely insane on that fight when it comes to the parse, but in realistic progression, Frost is just gonna be better because of the spread cleave. Fire probably doesn't have too much of a chance on it. Probably gonna be one of the worst fire fights if I had to guess. Chimeras, you know, another spread cleave fight. Hey, we haven't seen those, right? You know, it's a trend, guys. Anyways, Frost is going to be good on this one, but I think you could probably pad really hard as fire and maybe make it work, but I don't know. I think it's probably cooked on this one. I'm still going to play it, see how it works. On Bellerin, another spread cleave fight. You know, fire might have more egg damage, who knows? But yeah, Frost is pretty dominant on that, although you do kind of like a tertiary job. You're mainly just like worrying about phase ones, and then the egg damage is what actually matters, and you don't really do egg damage. On Midnight Falls, this one is going to be a firefight. I'm going to call it now. Again, I made my fire video about my Lura kill, and I think it's actually working out for a lot of mages. A lot of mages are picking up fire on this fight, and they're finding success. Again, like the fire sample size was very, very small whenever we first went here, and it's growing rapidly. I love to see it. Of course, if your AoE is way overkilled and you don't need AoE at all in this fight, you can play Frost, but I think that now with the 5% buff on fire, if you just want to just not press Flamestrike and just play fire the whole time, just like single target, it's probably going to be good. I'm excited to play this fight as Frostfire again. I actually was on pace to do more damage on my initial kill as Frostfire, but then I swapped to Sun Fury to try it out and accidentally killed the boss. And I just like stuck with it after that because it was cozy. But I think that Frostfire has like a lot higher damage potential in this fight because you can more easily time your burnouts on your combustions, and that's how you like really get the big damage while also doing good boss damage. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this all turns out. Again, 5% buff for fire. They're kind of equalizing Frostfire for Frost. They're making Sun Fury much better for Arcane. I think you should expect to see all three specs kind of in like the 110k damage single target when it comes to like sims and stuff between the hero talents, but that doesn't really matter so much in a raid where like all the encounters are spread cleave, right? Frost just has free spread cleave. So in order to beat Frost, you have to have like a lot of cleave, or you have to be able to pad really hard as Arcane, right? With damage amps and taking advantage of like Touch of the Magi, double dipping, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think this really moves the needle too much, but I will say as someone who's doing farm now, I appreciate that I'm getting to play the other specs. I am very excited to try out fire and see how well it does. Would it be better for progression? Probably not on most bosses, maybe on like one or two. But yeah, I am very, very welcome to the variety. Tired of playing Frost, essentially. So anyways, short and sweet. That's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and hopefully I see you in the next one.